Right, Sindelo Masikane, she's on this side for us, and then we have JJ Tabane on the other side, Sal.
Yes, we absolutely do. And JJ, I know that you have a guest, but I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes.
We have seen some records this election. It's the first time we've seen the ANC dip below 50%. And we've seen a record low turnout. We've also seen the DA take on some losses. I wanted to ask you whether you think there will be national implications for those two political parties at a leadership level for the local results, or does it not work like that?
Well, it does. It depends whether or not the targets that were set by those political parties. For example, if the ANC had said in a meeting and said, in order for this NEC to be seen as successful, you've got to be 50 plus 1, and then they got 50, then it would be give or take that they have succeeded. But where there's a glaring failure, that it will not be politics. If at the next conference of the ANC, for example, that is not used against Ramaphosa to say, under your leadership, the ANC for the first time has been defeated so badly, suffering so many losses. But others could turn it around. The Ramaphosa camp can turn it around and say, as Mbalula was saying yesterday, it could have been worse. And if it was not of Ramaphosa going to communities, he was telling me that he had to drag the president literally by the hand and say, let's go to Welcome now. People are waiting there. They don't want to hear from the provincial leaders. They don't want to hear from the mayor. They want to hear from the president. And indeed, you can't dispute that he has been on the campaign trail doing his best. So the answer to your question is, yes, it definitely can have implications. But at the same time, people can always spin any story. John Steenhuisen says, no, we gained from a freedom fund in this locality, that locality. But he won't say we lost from them in a different locality. We lost 15 municipalities in the Western Cape that are now hung councils instead of being in the hands of the DA. So you can always expect that they will politicize even the outcome that is glaring for everybody. So that's the answer, Sally. I hope that helps.
Yes, yes, it does. And the reason I was asking it as well is I was listening to Julius Malema saying that Cyril, basically blaming Cyril Ramaphosa for the low voter turnout, for the losses within the ANC, and basically saying that he's just a boring guy. He couldn't pull the people. That is very much his style. But I did wonder what sort of implications, particularly as we know that a lot of the rules around coalitions at that council level, the principles are guided from a national level, aren't they?
No, absolutely. Because remember, if it's horse trading and you've got 69 hung councils, you'd want to have a very smooth negotiation. So if you have a national footprint, you can use that to negotiate your outcomes at a local level. So obviously, it has to trickle down. Paul Mashatile explained it very well to you and I yesterday, that at the end of the day, it has to escalate to the top 6 in the ANC context, who are going to have to make those decisions. In the DA situation, the federal executive will have to sit and do that. Same with all the parties who have to get a national mandate so that there is consistency about who they partner with in the different municipalities. Obviously, you expect Julius Malema to be quite crass when it comes to Ramaphosa, but no one has ever said Ramaphosa was a crowd puller. So he's blaming for something that no one has ever accused him of. Ramaphosa has a particular profile which is not about pulling the crowd, but the ANC, both in the last elections and this one, survived because he was at the helm. There are people who went to vote because they said, hey, I don't like this ANC, but because it's Ramaphosa, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to give them the last chance. So actually, it's actually not true that they failed because of Ramaphosa. They survived because of him. It would have been worse. Sally, I'm sitting with Aubrey Mhlongo from the AIC. You'll remember that the AIC holds together the coalition of Ikuruleni in the last 5 years, and I want to talk to him a little bit about that. Ntate Aubrey, how are you? Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening. Good evening, JJ. Good evening to your viewers at home. I'm very well, thanks. Yeah.
How's the performance of the IEC this time around?
This time around, the performance is not what we were expecting, to be honest, and I want to be truthful to the South Africans, but we were very grateful to all the people that came out from their homes or from their offices to go and vote on the 1st of November. So although the turnout was not as we expected as the country, but those that came to vote exercise their right. So far so good, although we didn't achieve what we achieved in the last term. Yeah.
Let's talk about coalitions. You are holding together the coalition, particularly in the Ekurhuleni. My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the ANC at the national level promised you that they will resolve the issue of the Matatiele border situation. And on that basis, you are able to lend your vote to them in Ekurhuleni to enable them to govern, which otherwise would not have been possible if you withdrew your support. Did they keep their word?
Okay. Let me just first say to you before I answer the question, I was the part of the leadership of the AIC when it took the decision that let us do the coalition with the ANC based on what we have said in connection with the Matatiele boundary, that the people of Matatiele wanted to be administered from the KZN province. So when we went to the ANC, because we weighed our options, we knew that the ANC is in the majority in parliament. Yeah. And as you know, that cross-border demarcation needs the parliament to ratify with the 3/3. Yeah. So the ANC was at the majority. So we said if we go with them, they can help us. Yeah. So they agreed on that one. And we even signed the agreement. Yeah. That, okay, we'll help you.
They help you?
Yes, we will help you. But they didn't help us. But
they robbed you?
No. I wouldn't say they robbed us. As I'm saying, it was a process. And remember, if the process needs the parliament to change the law, it needs a lot of process, that the stages that we have got to go.
More than 5 years?
No, not more than 5 years.
But it's been 5 years.
Remember, the ANC changed its administration, or it changed its leadership. By then, when we negotiated, the current Minister of Mineral Resources, that is Kwedemantashe, was then the Secretary General of the ANC. When Isma Khashule took over, so he had to study what was there, what was on the contents of this coalition agreement. Yeah. So I don't know, along the way, what went wrong, because we're always keeping in touch with them, because even...
Right, but let's be honest with each other now. They didn't do what they promised to do. It's 5 years later. Yes, what are you going to do about it?
Okay,
we're going to support them again for a coalition.
If they come to us, we will look at them and we'll remind them that, look, we agreed that we are going to do this and we never achieved. You never kept your side of your bargain. Yeah. Yes. But now what can we rectify the mistakes that we did along the way?
So you're still going to give them another chance to lie to you for another 5 years?
We are proud as the African Independent Congress. Do you remember why are we proud? Yeah. Because we kept the administration of Ekurhuleni together and there was no hula balu. And that's why it got the clean audit. Yeah. It got the clean audit because of the presence of the African Independent Congress. Yeah. That should be the grateful of the residents and the citizens of Ekurhuleni. Yeah. So that one only, it was a great achievement from the AIC side. Because remember, if we are going to do, you'll see the jostling of positions now when these political parties are going to form the coalitions. And the coalitions, it's the way that South Africa should go about. But what is it that those parties are going to negotiate behind the closed doors? Are they going to come back to the masses and say, me and ANC, we agreed on doing this?
Right, I'm going to go back to the studio now, but I want to ask you one last question. Your very reason for existence as AIC was this border dispute, amongst other things.
No. We were just trying to protect the rights of the citizens. Remember, the citizens have got the right to choose where do they want to belong. You know, constitutionally, if I say to you, I'm going to decide to you, I've got to go somewhere else to look for the recourse. Because, I mean, you've just taken me against my will and you took me to somewhere. Yeah. So what our existence was basically on those bases, that we wanted to help the people of Matatiele because the ANC took the decision against their will.
Yeah, so should you be using your vote with people who don't then attend to the people of Matatiele as your key constituencies?
I'm surprised. We are human beings. I wouldn't say upright that we are going to form the coalition with the ANC. Yeah. We're gonna sit down as the leadership and we're gonna conduct with our constituencies. Then we'll take decision there after that consultation.
Thank you for asking that, Aubrey. Thank you so much. Sally, you heard it for yourself. AIC fed up that 5 years down the line they have not gotten what they put on the table as a bargaining chip, but they're still willing. Their door is still open to talk about what went wrong and to see whether this can happen again as something that may be necessary given so many hung councils and so many votes that the ANC may need to hang on to power of Sally.
Well, that's a fascinating case. In fact, I do remember it. But redrawing a provincial boundary, that requires a 2/3 majority in Parliament to change the Constitution, am I right?
Absolutely, but the demarcation board, in fact, if you think about it, it's actually an illegal agreement.
Yeah.
Because you can't actually tell the demarcation board that's independent how to draw the borders on the altars of political expediency, Sally.
Yes, and also it would be surely a gain for the political party, but a move that the government would have to make, and that surely is completely unacceptable as well. So it's also interesting that you have to know the law and the limits of the law and the limits of what you can ask for and be offered when you're making these coalition agreements. It's a good lesson.
It's a habit, Sally, that unfortunately is becoming perennial, in that it's a mix-up of party and state. So the party wants to grab power by using its state machinery to bargain. That's a bargaining chip. I mean, I'm besides myself that they're still considering to do it again.
Yes.
All right.
JJ, thank you so much. We will chat to you soon. He always finds fascinating people to talk to, does JJ.